America, my name is I'm Osei-Frimpong, and I come to you when I come to you. But today we're going to talk about, or tonight we're going to talk about how the Democrats and the left particularly doesn't take divorce or crime seriously for related reasons. And it's not obvious that the Democrats and the left's unwillingness to take especially no-fault divorce and crime or crime seriously are related, but I'm going to try to describe the distance between the two issues and account for why that leads to a quality of exodus from the party and a quality of political unseriousness with respect to securing freedom as a matter of good governance, right? So what does crime have to do with no-fault divorce? So one of the big problems with crime is that people can't make plans and have their and expect for their plans to be realized. Their plans can be frustrated by any criminal who does any old thing that they want to them that might frustrate their plans. And if you can't make plans and realize plans, then you're not free, because freedom is a matter of being able to make plans and realize plans, make plans under the law, and then realize those plans under the law. Right? And if it's not a lawfully governed world, if existence isn't itself lawfully governed, then you can't make plans. Right? So a nation that secures freedom is a nation that secures, the laws we make in the world. Right? So that I can make my plans in accordance with the laws of the land and then have my plans be realized. And then that way I determine myself. I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I knew that the world worked a certain way. And not only did I know that the world worked a certain way, I knew that everybody else in the world willed it such that the world would work a certain way according to the law. We all came together and decided that we would all, drive on the right side of the road or whatever. So it's not just an accident that the world is regular, but I know that the world is regular because it's regular because of everyone else's agreed will to making it regular, and the recognition that all of our freedom depends on everybody else recognizing our conventions, our shared conventions, and our laws. And some people call it a social contract. Contract is bad language because contracts are about things that are other than people. It's about two people agreeing about how to deal with stuff. These are social relations that are in a way more intimate because they shape who we are as people in a more immediate manner. So we have an agreement. We've made an agreement that we are allowing ourselves to be certain ways by accommodating and willing the world to work in a certain way, right? And not so I can act in the world and not think that people are going to happen to drive on the right side of the road, but I can act in the world knowing that people are going to, on purpose, through their intentional action, drive on the right side of the road, not only for them, but out of respect for me, right? So my ability to be free depends on people following the law on purpose, for working out whatever solution that they need to work out for their own lives in a way that's consistent with the law that allows me to work out whatever solution I need to work out for my own life, right? So that's why we need to actually take crime seriously, because in a world where criminals run rampant, other people are not free. The laws, the artificial laws that allow us to be self-determining are no longer hold. And like I said, they can't hold by accident. They have to hold because people will them to hold. I am not really free if I go out and I just kind of assume that people will drive on the right side of the road. I need to go out knowing that they're going to intentionally choose to. And because I know that they're going to intentionally choose to drive on the right side of the road, then I can be free going from point A to point B on that right side of the road. It's not a matter of accident. They don't just happen. We don't live in a parallel world where there's no coordination between me and the other person. Not only is there coordination between me and the other drivers on the road, there's enforcement. But mostly there's coordination. So it's not an accident. It's not a parallel series where the twain have never met and we've never agreed to comport each other in a certain way to each other, right? So criminals frustrate the scheme of freedom in that way. Now, what does that have to do with no-fault divorce? And this is where it's going to get interesting. And this is why you need to listen to people like me, because nobody else is going to put this together. I happen to be writing a paper on no-fault divorce right now, so I think about it in a lot of ways. And anyway, so one of the problems with no-fault divorce is that it's a form of child abuse insofar as now the children's lives are not governed by willful lawfulness. So you can go to one house and one particular house and their particular way of life, which is deemed legitimate, though incompatible, has screens all the time and no bedtime and all of that. And then the other particular way of life doesn't have screens and has like a 6:30 bedtime or something like that. And they're up at 5 o'clock in the morning. And so, and then both have like a moral sensibility of this is how you should live life. Right. And so for kids who spend 1 week in one house and another week in another house, they end up being little nihilists because there is no determinate way of life and everything just seems arbitrary and random and they can't actually plan. Because at any point in time, since parents in this agreement usually like hate each other's guts, the parents aren't going to coordinate to on purpose have a regular life for the children. Right. Because one of the reasons they might have broken up with is because they had domestic incompatibility, different ways of life, right? And both seem to want to be free to change their way of life without consulting the other and enforce their way of life without consulting the other. So, children, and when making plans for their life, have to know that both parents are not wedded to creating a lawful world for the children. So the children can't make plans, and this ultimately frustrates their agency. So a lot of people talk about the problem with no-fault divorce being the resources that are now divided, and that kind of is a problem, but not necessarily a big one. That would be the problem with stealing, being that people are poor. Or that like people need their money so you can't steal their money. But like some people are rich enough that they don't actually need that money, but you still can't steal it. And so that's like the divorce problem. Some people are rich enough where the money split isn't that big of a problem. So now you're just saying that if the biggest problem for children is the money, then all you just need to do is be rich enough that money isn't the problem. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem isn't the money, it's a conceptual unity. It's the conceptual unity. That means the ability of children to be rewarded for being agents in their life under a governed law, which is enforced and realized by the family, because children don't interact with the social world or the political world abstracted from a family. Like the family is that there's a lot of pre-mastication of the civil society and politics that is worked on before it gets to the children, and appropriately so. If your children are just exposed to civil society without you censoring it for them and interpreting it for them and chewing the food for them conceptually, then you can't be surprised when your kids are awful. Because market society wants your kids to be awful and irresponsible. So you need to control the environment, both political and social environment of your children, and make it the case that their work is recognized. That way they'll actually respect agency in general. They won't be punished for making plans and then working to realize those plans, because they'll live in a world where their particular way of life is actually fixed and orderly, and it makes sense. And it's a parent's job to create a world that makes sense. But if parents are parallel parenting, the world will only make sense by accident. It just might be an accident that parents have the same idea about how to structure the kid's world so that there isn't really a big disjunction from one week to the next. But that's only an accident. And that's the same situation I was talking about before, where it's just an accident. It just happens to be that I go on the road and people are driving on the right side of the road and I'm driving on the right side of the road, so we don't hit each other. That's not freedom for anybody. It's not enough that it just be an accident that it works out. For agency to be respected, I need to know that the other person is willing an orderly world, right? An orderly world for me. and I am willing an orderly world for them. That means now we bring it back to the family. The children need to know that the world is being willed to be orderly for them, not just a happy accident that their aberrant parent who's, who governs their own life the way they want to happens to agree with the other aberrant parent who governs their way with the way they want to, so that the life is somewhat coherent, but it's accidentally coherent. The child doesn't think that, okay, the two people who govern my world are coordinating in order to secure a coherent world for me. It's not a matter of the parent's will that it's that the child's world is coordinated. It's not a matter of the children's cooperation and co-commitment. It's just an accident. That means at any point in time, each parent has a right to change how they decide that the proper way of life is living for not just that parent, but also that parent's relationship with the child. Right. And there is no assurance that either parents are going to coordinate with each other to sustain a sensible world, an intelligible world, a consistent world for the child. And with this idea that nobody's at fault, both worlds are going to be legitimate, even if they are mutually exclusive or incompatible. Right? So I want I'm going to make the connection one more time. The connection between crime and divorce, and how Dems and the left in general, but Dems in particular, don't take either of them seriously, is that you got to in order to be free, you need to be able to make plans and realize those plans. And in order to make plans, the world has to be regular. And it not only has to be regular, it has to be regular because you believe that the other willing participants in the world will make it regular. It's not the case that the world is naturally regular. You're not free in nature. If I were free in nature, I would be trying to announce my rights in the face of a tiger. I have a right to my left arm. The tiger is going to say no, right? So you're only free in an artificial world, a world made by us, but it can't be regular and artificial by accident. It can't be regular and artificial by happenstance. If it's regular and artificial by happenstance, you're still not free, because at any point in time, I could drive on the right side of the road and then someone just decides to drive on the left side of the road. I have no reason to believe that they won't drive on the right side of the road. It has to be I have to know that as a product of other people's wills, that they will accommodate the law and behave lawfully, so that I can make plans for my life with those laws in mind. I have an idea of an existence that is regularized and legal and known to be that way and willed to be that way by all the other participants in this world. And when those participants don't will it to be that way, it's a problem for everybody else's freedom, and we call that a crime. Right? So for me to be free as an agent, everybody else has to will the law. They have to conform. That's the agreement. And not by accident, but by will, and not by nature, but by their will. On purpose, they have to abide by the law, and I have to know that they're going to abide by the law on purpose. So that then I can hold them accountable when they don't abide by the law, but also I can organize my life and come up with plans based on what I know that they're going to do, based on what I know that they're going to abide by the law within this sphere, right? Now, that's why criminals are bad for everyone else's freedom. How does this connect to divorce? Well, as a child, I need to know, insofar as I'm an agent and developing agency, that my parents are going to intentionally will a world that will make sense. And this is why chaotic homes or parents who are not particularly thoughtful or consistent are huge problems for the social development and the agential development of their children. I need to know as a child that my effort is not going to be wasted and that the world that is curated for me by my parents is intentionally curated to be regular. It doesn't necessarily have to be nice, but it does have to be regular for my agency. Right? And this is, I'll do a different show about the difference between nice parenting and then rational parenting, and why rational parenting is better than nice parenting. But yeah, so children need to know that their world is regular, and the people who curate and create and sustain their world are their parents. And if you think that other people sustain your child's world, then you're not doing your job as a parent, because it's your job to curate and sustain a regular world so that your kid will have their agency respected and they'll do what they're supposed to do and the world will treat them appropriately. And as soon as parents divorce and now they're parallel parenting, they aren't willing a consistent world. And insofar as they are willing a particular consistent world, it's by accident. It's by accident. There's no fidelity to the child to will a consistent world, because in order for there to be fidelity to the child to will a consistent world, the parents have to be willing to work with each other, but they've decided that they shouldn't have to work with each other. The parent, when you file for a no-fault divorce, you're deciding that I shouldn't have to work with the other person. I shouldn't have to deal with the other person. And if you're saying that you shouldn't have to deal with the other person, you're saying that you shouldn't have to coordinate family lives, that they have the kid for a week and then you have the kid for the week, and the two do not have to match. And the two do not have to coordinate. And that is perfectly fine. Yeah. And so, but that's a great way to raise a little nihilist. And not only do you say that you don't have to coordinate with the other parent, you're telling the kid that creating a coherent world only happens by accident. And the parent, even in themselves, has the authority to day change the particular shape of the household without any fidelity to the other parent or fidelity to the kid. Because if the parent actually has fidelity to the child, they would never sign up for an arrangement where they don't know what's going on in the other household for 1 week at a time. Like, the parallel parenting wouldn't exist. If you actually care about creating a stable household for your child, you would not parallel parent. When you decide that they do their house over there and I do my house over here, and I'm not going to deal with that person to make sure that there is consistency, because I don't want to deal with them and I shouldn't have to deal with them, and they shouldn't have to, and they don't want to deal with me and they shouldn't have to deal with me. When you've decided that you don't care about willing a coherent world for your child, and any coherence in that world for your child is a happy accident. Just like any coherence in that world where I drive on the right side and the other person happens to drive on the right side is a happy accident. Fundamentally irresponsible and anxiety making. Right? So, by the way, if you appreciate what I'm doing, and I think you should, because 0 people have put this together, go ahead and go to www.funkyacademic.com and kick in $5, $15, or $50 a month. Right now, I'm doing the family video. I put together a video from a family so they know what it is to be part of this family. And so once I log off here, I'm going to go back to working on the video every year. I guess you can go to the YouTube and look at my old family videos from last year and the year before. And I'm going to put the family video for 2024 together. So that should be a hoot. Probably try to get it ready by Christmas Eve. But there are reasons to stay together for the kids. And it's not just for resources. And it's not just for conceptual coherence. It's the intentional conceptual coherence. Just like you want to get against crime, not just because you can't afford to be stolen from. And not just because you want to make plans for your life and you don't want other people to interfere with your plans, but because you want to make plans for your life and you need other people to intentionally not interfere with those plans unduly. All right. So you don't want them to not interfere with those plans by accident, happen to not steal from you, happen to not run into your car, happen to drive on the right side of the road. You want them to intentionally not steal from you. You want them to intentionally not drive on the right side of the road. You want them to intentionally not steal from you. Right? And that's the same way with parents. Children want their parents to intentionally create a coherent world for them, not to happen to create a coherent world for them. Right? So thank you for your time. And go ahead, tell me what you think of the theory. Like I said, you're not going to hear it anywhere else. And since I haven't written it up yet, go ahead, tell me what you think of it on the comments, and I will talk to you at another time. I'll talk to you another time. You should look forward to seeing the family video coming up, because I think it's going to be dope. My kids are dope. My kids, my family, my wife, everything. Like, I don't do a lot of things right, but I do. I got this family game on lock, as the kids say. I think the kids still say that. I don't know if the kids still say that. But peace, and I will talk to you a different time. Later.